All right, folks, let's continue on with our program here. It's an honor for me to introduce Swil Kanim, and I've seen or listened to Swil's work and watched a couple of movies that you've produced, and so I'm looking forward to hearing him in person. So I'm going to get out of the way.
I remember standing at recess at the top of Wacom Middle School steps, standing next to the principal. And we called him Eagle Eye. That was the kids in middle school called him Eagle Eye. And he was looking out over the crowd of the kids like this. Kids were screaming, and he didn't do anything but just look like this. So my friends, they dared me to stand up next to him, so I did. I stood up next to him like this and just looked at all the kids screaming and laughing and running around. And then I just couldn't resist. I asked him, "Mr. Waihe, why is our middle school mascot the Warriors?" And this is what he said. Didn't look at me. I'm right down here. He just went, "You should be honored." So I was so curious that I went into the school and I went over the big, huge the library had a really big dictionary, and I looked up the word honored. If I'm going to be that, if I should be that, then I got to know what it is. And the only thing that I could really get out of this big, huge dictionary definition of honor was a higher degree of respect. So I should be respected in a higher degree that our middle school mascot was the Warriors. But it didn't look like anything I'd ever experienced. You know what it looked like? It didn't match my perception of what a warrior was. See, I knew my dad was a warrior, Dick Wesley. Dick Wesley was a warrior. He came back from the Korean conflict and he was fighting a battle every day. And I should be honored that our middle school mascot was the Warriors. From that moment on, though, I've been curious about the word honor. So much so that I looked at the etymology of the word, like the history of the word. And what I know now is that between the 1400s and July 4th of 1776, honor as a word was prevalent in literature. Honor was everywhere. It was used commonly, as in the honor among men, honor among thieves, honor among. It was always there. It was in all the literature. But then I noticed that it dropped off to almost nothing on July 4th, 1776. Why? And kids nowadays, I mean, we got a couple youngsters here, right? You know what it is to drop the mic, right? When you say just the right rap and it's like, why say more? So just drop the mic and leave the stage, right? Well, in those days, the last word of a document was the most important word. It was the drop the mic moment. In the Declaration of Independence, the founding fathers used this phrase, "with a firm reliance on divine providence." In other words, they were saying that God is on our side. With a firm reliance on divine providence, we pledge to ourselves. They weren't pledging to me or to the Crown of England, which is what this document was written to. They were pledging to themselves, their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. Drop the mic. That moment was really important because from that moment on, the word usage of honor changed. Now, not the definition of honor. That didn't change. See, the H-O-N of honor is, some etymologists claim that that's the root of the word coin, currency. That honor is, the han of honor became coin in history. So what is the han? There's other words that use that. There's words like honey, like EY is the product of the han. So a bee takes pollen to the hive. The product of that transaction is honey. Honest, it's another word. EST is the spirit of the han, the spirit of being present to the truth, being present to each other. When I'm honest with you, it's the spirit of that speaking. It's not that I am almighty and have all the truth, but that the spirit of me speaking from my heart is honest. So OR of the word honor, that means the quality of the han. So when my middle school principal said, you should be honored that the middle school mascot is the Warriors, I realized that the word should and honor don't always mix. That really the notion of being present, fully present to someone, means that I'm present to their truth, their circumstances. From my truth and from my circumstances, I can be present to someone else's honor. From my honor, I can recognize and acknowledge the honor of someone else. Not that my honor is greater than anyone else's honor, like the founding fathers said, when they said that they pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. Because you see in that same document, they declared me a merciless savage, worthy of annihilation. In fact, that was the whole one of the purposes of this document, was they wanted to say to the Crown of England, we have the right to kill Indians. That's me being honest. Now, the unfortunate thing is that people, because they've come to believe in the distribution of honor, that some people are worthy of honor and some people aren't. When really, I believe with all of my heart, I believe that every single human being is worthy of honor. In fact, it's the putting down of someone else's honor that stops us from being fully present to one another. So, the neat thing is, the neat thing about that notion is that honor is an amazing possibility in every moment we have alive. With one another, for one another, because of one another. Honor is a powerful, powerful understanding. And I realize now, as we celebrate economics here today, I realize now that my elders and the genetic memory that flows through me knows what honor is. With all of my heart, I know what it is to be a veteran. I know what it is to put my life on the line, to raise my hand. I'm thankful I never saw battle. I'm thankful I never witnessed anything of the atrocities of battle. But I also know that I didn't know that I wasn't going to see battle when I raised my hand. Yeah, I should be honored that our middle school mascot was a warrior. Maybe. but I should be honored. I should be honored that I am Lummi. Honor in the spirit of a transaction is sustainable. In the spirit of a transaction, it's what keeps us going. As I exchange gratitude for the generosity of your presence, that sustains you. We had an economy here, a sustainable economy here at Tititsin, a sustainable economy here for thousands of years. We had everything. Everything we needed was right here. Everything we really need is right here, right now. And it's sustainable to recognize and acknowledge the generosity of someone's presence. It's sustainable to recognize and acknowledge that you, behind you, is an amazing story, an amazing history. It's an honor to recognize and acknowledge that. It's an honor to be full of gratitude and to speak about that. You see, we have an amazing eternal history behind us, and we have a shared future together, and that's an honor. If we're going to talk about economy, we can't just talk about money. If we're going to talk about economy and a sustainable economy, we have to talk about generosity. If we're going to talk about a sustainable economy, we have to talk about gratitude. We have to remember what our elders have said. Before money came, we had everything. I wrote a poem. I kind of said it, I wrote it not thinking that I would ever say it out loud to people. It was just kind of a reminder to me when I was worried about money. And it goes, back in the day, everyone gave it all away. When all was said and done, there was more than enough for everyone. Until one day, everyone gave it all away except for one. Still, there was more than enough for everyone except for one. See, the one that held back could not receive with open arms the very gift of generosity. Someday, everyone will give it all away. And when all is said and done, oh yes, there will be more than enough for everyone. Sometimes when people gather, sometimes it's painful moments in our lives. We're there to support a family that's lost something, that has a pain in their heart. And where we're from, who we are, we thank the cooks. We thank the grave diggers. Who we are, we thank the people for showing up and offering the greatest gift anyone can give is their presence. We thank the people. There's lots of gratitude. But you see, that was so contrary to the teachings that my foster parents gave me, the people who eventually adopted me and illegally changed my name to Richard Marshall. The people who did that, they told me Indians are savages. They're lazy. They don't They're primitive. They don't know the value of their own land. That's why I use my Indian name, Swil Kanim. Because if I were to change my name back to my birth name, Richard Alfred Wesley Jr., it would erase what happened. And I'm not ready to do that yet. Maybe someday I will forgive. See, that's my point. Someday I will forgive. Before I can give, I must forgive. Before I can be really generous, I've got to forgive. This is a piece I wrote. It's called Thanking the People. It's about the gatherings and the people thanking people. So I believe that the spirit of the potlatch is what invented derivatives, where the value of one thing is derived from the value of something else. The unfortunate thing is that derivatives, as we know it on Wall Street, isn't necessarily, it's kind of scary, right? How we recognize what's happening in Wall Street is a little bit different, and I think it's because they took the fractal mathematics that derive it and they flipped it upside down. Where the people who manage the derivatives are the ones that are making the most amount of money. And I think the real potential, from my perspective, of economic growth here is through financial services like CDFI, with non-predatory lending, with a commitment from a board of people that are committed to making sure that our core values are forefront in a financial transaction. That what's most important to us as a people becomes a part of our Han, a part of our honor, this CDFI and the wisdom of our leadership gave me new hope about impact that I could have in my community. You see, I still have nightmares like I had last night of my childhood. I still fear for Indian kids being raised out there in foster homes and being told things that are lies. And it moves me to know that there's a place here next to the freeway. It's safe, whatever, under a big TV screen. So it's like your living room right out there, right? If there's a foster kid out there, I want them to know there's a place where they can come, where they can experience Native art. They can witness me sharing from my heart here, right here, every first Friday. And it's not because I do this here every first Friday for money, because I'm not paid to do it. I donate it. To me, this is my donation. I donate my performance to First Friday so that I can bring other artists here. I go out there, I do what I do, and I meet other musicians, and I bring them here, hoping that their audience will follow them here. And then they can see this beautiful artwork that's here. They can know where to get their fresh salmon. That means more to me. That's my payment. That means more to me. We need that. We need this place. We need this space. We need this place where people think, where people can think, where people can see the artwork that's around us. Because art is an amazing thing. This place is a work of art. I don't know if you were here before Travis did the wonderful work of setting up these acoustic panels in here. But these acoustic panels that make it so that you can understand what I'm saying here right now, these acoustic panels changed everything. Was it the CDFI? Who got involved in that? Somebody here needs to take credit for this. Because I was saying, man, we need acoustic panels here. We need acoustic panels. We need some kind of acoustic treatment to this room, because that glass wall and that freeway, it's just noisy in here. But now you can hear me. You can hear my violin. You can hear that I'm speaking from my heart. Someone answered that call. And I'm really glad that I said to whoever was making the decisions at the time, I said, please just hire the best. Don't necessarily go with the lowest bid. Hire the best. I didn't know anything about the bidding process. I don't know who it did, but the bottom line is that I know they hired the best in Travis Jordan. Because it sounds awesome in here. We had a 15-person band, a jazz band in here. There were no room for tables. All the chairs were full. These doors were open. People were stand out in the parking lot listening to this jazz band. And you know where they came from? Linden. That's like a white town. And they brought their friends here. And they were like, wow, we had no idea this was here. You know what I just heard? They want to come back. Yeah. To me, that is evidence. That's actually a best practice standard. Evidence of engagement. They want to come back. They want to recontribute. And you know what? We passed the hat to support their efforts for coming here, and they donated it to Honor Works. They said, no. We're having too good of a time here. It was awesome. They have their own recital hall in Linden, and they wanted to come here. The need was there for an acoustic treatment here, and it was met by the people who manage this place and space. And I have plans. Someday, I'm going to premiere right here the Swil Kanim Symphony. It'll be 5 movements, and it will rock your world. I've already heard the Seattle Symphony already played one portion of it, and I got goosebumps. I'm getting them again just thinking about that moment where the finale was laid out there like that. It was so beautiful. Someday that's going to happen right here. I believe that with all my heart. I don't know how it's going to happen, and I really don't care. Just that it will happen. And I want you all to be here. So I want to explain a little bit about who I am and what it's about for me as far as economics. When I graduated from high school in 1980, I commercial fished with Sonny Lane. Boy, it was fun. That was the most amazing summer of my life. But then a dogfish came around, and I still got the scar on my knuckle. Came back and got me real good in my knuckle, and it swelled up, and it was like a big balloon. And the first thing that came to my mind was, am I going to be able to play the violin again? Right? And I realized, well, maybe commercial fishing isn't the best thing for my higher calling. And I made the choice of turning my back on all the big money that commercial fishing had to offer, and I joined the Army. And I don't know how that makes sense, but to me, that's what I did. I joined the Army, and I joined as a chaplain's assistant, and eventually became a drill sergeant in the U.S. Army, because I was really good at being a chaplain's assistant. I don't know, the wisdom of the Army, they make somebody a drill sergeant that's really good at what they do. And so next thing you know, I'm a drill sergeant, and I'm, learning. I actually had to learn how to be mad, how to be mean, right? That was drill sergeant school. It was like they taught me how to be mean. And I got out of the Army. Oh, the whole time while I was in the Army, I was in phone conversations with my mom, and I was reconnecting with my Uncle Virgil, who was living in Seattle, and reconnecting with my Uncle Art. And when I got out of the Army, I came back home. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what anybody, people would say, so who are you? So, I'm Richard Marshall. And they'd look at me like, who? It's like, well, when I was really little, they used to call me Pee-wee. And they'd say, oh, Pee-wee! My cousins would hug me. It's been so long since I've seen you. I can't believe, you got out and all this kind of stuff. And then while I was in the Army, I was a promoter for the Army Soldier Show, so I learned a lot about advertising. And I learned a lot about promotion, and I learned a lot. So I started my own little promotion group called the Ramar Group, Richard A. Marshall Group. And that Ramar Group had, it was a business license, and I ran it out of Bellingham, and I provided talent for these different people. And I discovered Hilary Swank. She auditioned for a commercial, and she went off to Hollywood and became famous. And I was like, man, I wish I could be famous. It's like, well, I play the violin. So I sold everything. And I moved to Seattle. I delivered pizzas at night. I'd sold cars on weekends. And then I street performed at the Pike Place Market in Seattle. And then I realized that of all the things that I was doing, street performing was making the most amount of money. So I started street performing, and the same way that I sold cars, because I used to have a bird dog system on a Smith Corona word processor with a spreadsheet. And I would keep track of everybody who was selling Fords, because I was working for University Ford. And somebody sold, because I look at the spreadsheet, if somebody sold a lot of Fords, then that means they were a Ford enthusiast, and they were so I got them to bird dog for me, they call it, and I give them Mariners tickets when nobody wanted to go see Mariners tickets, but they would go anyway, then I'd sit next to them and I'd say, is there anything else I can do for you as a car? Because what I would mean by bird dog is that anybody who didn't buy their car, if they referred them to University Ford and they bought a car from me, I'd give them a Mariners ticket, or sometimes it's just money, $50 or something like that. And I sold a lot of cars that way. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this is that that kind of mindset is what I had when I was a street performer. I kept track of what I was wearing. Like, I was wearing a white shirt, blue jeans, black belt, and black Birkenstocks, and that's when I made the most amount of money. And if I really wanted to ump the ante, I put on a red bandana. So if I had a red bandana, white shirt, blue jeans, black belt, and Birkenstocks, I made 3 times the amount of money if I was just wearing anything other than that. There was something about people trusting me if I was wearing a white shirt. There was something about it. It became systematic for me. And then the next thing you know, I knew exactly how much money I was going to make based on the temperature at the starting of the day and the temperature at the closing of the day. The projected, I could read the newspaper and the weather report, and I could figure out exactly how much money I was going to make, depending on what day of the month it was in that month. I could project it. It's like, well, wow, is there anything else I can do? And one month, because the weather wasn't all that great, I was about $300 short on rent. I felt hopeless because I knew how much money I was going to make. And it was a rainy Sunday, below the mean temperature, the temperature it needed to be. So I knew I wasn't going to make no $300. The manager of the apartment complex said, if rent is late again this month, this will be your last month here. And I was like, great, now I got to go find another job, find another appointment, make enough money for a first and last and start all over. So I was kind of depressed and grumpy by the time I got down to the market, but I did it. 10 o'clock, I showed up. Because it was a rainy Sunday, nobody else wanted to play in the spots. I didn't have to trade my spot out to anybody. I played in the same spot from 10 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock at night. And I want you to think about that. What does that mean? Hold your arm up and move the other arm and think about the music you're playing. I mean, by the time I was done, I had blisters underneath the calluses of my fingertips, and they were throbbing, and they were kind of cold, so I dropped my hand down to kind of get blood circulating in them, and that just made them hurt anymore. And then I just realized I just got to keep playing because that hurt less. Near the end of the day, there was an Asian man. He's walking toward me. He's reaching in his pocket, and I'm playing, kind of peeking at him while I'm playing, and I'm thinking, yes, I got bus fare home at least. I wasn't even worried about $300 for rent. I was just hoping for bus fare home. And so I'm playing, only this time he doesn't pull out a dollar bill. He pulled out a Christian tract. You know what those are? Like flimsy pieces of paper that give you the 4 steps to salvation. And he was about to put that in my empty violin case. When I told him in, shall we say, non-Christian terms, right? I said, I don't need no Christian tract. What I need's $300 for rent. You got that in your pocket? And he said, I'm sorry. And I was like, well, you better be. Those Christian tracts are all stacked up on my windowsill. At home, I'm going to see which denomination's going to win at the end of the year. And he said, I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to offend you. I know I'll tip you if you play for me Amazing Grace. And I said, typical Christian, trying to turn it back on me. All right. I'll play Amazing Grace for you. I'll play it so bad and out of tune, you won't even be able to tell that it is Amazing Grace, and then you got to tip me because you're a Christian. You got to be a man of your word. And he said, no, it's not fair. I got to be able to tell that it is Amazing Grace. And I said, all right, I'll play it so bad and out of tune, you'll just barely tell that it is Amazing Grace, and then you got to tip me because you're a Christian. You got to be a man of your word. He said, fair enough. And I was like, really? All right. So I started playing Amazing Grace in the wrong key, the wrong pitch, and absolutely, most definitely in the wrong attitude. But if you listen really closely, you could tell that it was Amazing Grace. Then an interesting thing happened. Around the 3rd verse, my fingers started to play the right notes. And I was like, fingers, play the wrong notes. But they just kept playing the right notes. Then I figured, if I play it right from a couple verses, he'll maybe give me a bigger tip or something. Maybe pick up a burger, a Big Mac or something on the way home. And then I close my eyes. I'm listening to the song. I start to hear the words. Not with my ears, but in my heart. And I notice that my eye is leaking. Not, Lummi men, when we cry, usually make a really ugly face, right? Lummi men, we'll cry at the drop of a hat. I dropped my hat. It wasn't anything like that. It was just this leak on my cheek. I finished the song. I opened my eyes. There's a big crowd of people standing around, actually about this size. I don't know where they came from. My Christian friend, he reached in his pocket and he pulled out a dollar bill this time. He said to everyone standing there, my friend here, he needs $300 for rent. I forgot I told him that. And so then he put that $1 bill in my case. And then he stepped away. Everybody who was standing around started coming toward me. He worked his way through the crowd, and I lost sight of him. And right before he went down the rest of the stairwell down there, I saw him. He was waving. And people coming toward me were asking me questions that street performers dream of. They were asking me questions like, excuse me, sir, do you accept checks? I was like, yeah. Or excuse, where's the nearest ATM machine? Up the stairs to the left. I was like, wow. And it was one of the most amazing experiences, because not only did I make enough money to cover rent that month, I made enough money to produce my first demo CD, A Little Boat in the Big River. Now, why am I telling you this story? I don't know what the story means to you, but what I do know it means to me is that trying to pray is praying. Sometimes going through the motions is enough. I feel like now, and the whole day I've been listening to the reference to the business plan. I'm seeing now for the first time that filling out the forms, doing everything it takes, calling it jumping through the hoops, in its own way, is an act of prayer. You don't need a perfect theology, a perfect understanding God to tap into the resources of this infinite universe. You don't need that. Sometimes going through the motions is enough. So I'm going to conclude this presentation with my version of Amazing Grace.